We are on the 29th of October in 1985. It's only the beginning of the season and the Bulls of Michael Jordan are playing against the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, MJ gets injured during the game. He even breaks his feet, leaving his team alone until the end of the season. This incident was a big deal for the Bulls and Nike because the Air Jordan 1 sales suddenly dropped due to Michael Jordan's absence on the court. That's why Nike decided to speed up the production of a new model for the Jordan brand. But what they didn't know is that they were about to release what most people think is the worst Air Jordan in history, the Black Sheep, the unpopular Jordan 2. But is that really the case? Hi everyone, my name is Arthur Berondi, and today in Sneak In, we talk about the secrets surrounding the creation of the Air Jordan 2. In 1986, the Air Jordan 1 was in every sneakerhead's mind, thanks to Michael Jordan and his incredible performances during the first season. But when he got injured, Nike felt it was time to go for the second generation of the Jordan brand. That's why they decided to call Peter Moore, designer of the Dunk and of course the Air Jordan 1, and Bruce Kilgore, designer of the Air Force 1. When they were tasked to do it, they knew they wouldn't have as much success as the one, because they had less time to design it. However, they had to relaunch the hype of the Jordan brand quickly, so they still had to do something revolutionary, and their first ideas were strange. First, they wanted to take the upper of the Jordan 1 and glue the outsole of the future real Air Jordan 2 with the technological innovations to it. A little bit like what Tinker Hatfield has done with the Air Max 1 and the Air Max Lite. But let's be honest, this sneaker is terrible, wrong. I already feel guilty just by looking at it. They also thought about this prototype, which was ugly as hell. Oh my god, what is that? But they ended up using the low-top version of these for the Bulls cheerleaders, so it wasn't a waste of time. And after all those attempts, Bruce Kilgore and Peter Moore finally agreed on an idea. Bruce Kilgore and Peter Moore noticed that Michael Jordan was someone who liked to flex, because he was always wearing extravagant clothes and gold chains, even during games. And that's how they had the idea to create a luxury sneaker that would fit this image of him. This pair would be amazing in terms of performance, but also in terms of style. Michael Jordan could wear it on the court and an hour later with a suit and tie at a party. This could be the first multifunction sneaker that people who used to wear classic leather shoes could wear on the street or at work. So Nike was again working on something revolutionary, but mostly based on style. Yes, they would increase the performance and the comfort, but this wasn't their main idea. Instead, they wanted to create the sneaker with the best premium materials they could find. That's why they decided to put fake iguana for one part and premium leather for another. And also, the pair would be manufactured in Italy. Another thing, the pair doesn't have a swoosh anymore, and only the Jordan Wings logo. And this was the first sign of the preparation of the future Jordan brand that would be independent from Nike. And that's not all for the Air Jordan 2. Nike knew it wasn't enough to make the sneaker look cool in the eyes of the fans. That's why they decided to make the Air Jordan 2 exclusive by delivering it only to 30 different shops. However, all those premium materials had a cost. The Air Jordan 2 cost $100, while the Air Jordan 1 was only $65. But contrary to today, this price was justified because the premium materials and Italy manufacture cost a lot. But now it was time to finally launch it. And unfortunately for Nike, Michael Jordan didn't like it at all. Finally, after a lot of brainstorming from the two genius designers, the Air Jordan 2 is out in two colorways, the home colorway and the away colorway. Nicknamed Air Jordan Imagination, this pair shocked the fans because of its price, which was high for the time as already said, but also because of its commercial, directed again by the Whedon plus Kennedy agency. In this commercial, Michael Jordan jumps in the air with the Air Jordan 2 and executes his rock a baby dunk. At the end of the ad, the narrator tells us, Air Jordan, it's all in the imagination. To conclude, a legendary ad to many fans today. People at that time were surprised to see luxury materials on a sneaker, because it was new unlike today. Also, comfort has been increased with a new air cushion in the midsole, even though most people think about the design and the premium materials. So Michael Jordan would return from his injury with a more comfortable shoe. And this was a massive success for the player, because Michael Jordan will do a fantastic 86-87 basketball season with the Chicago Bulls. He will play the opening game with the Jordan 2 and score 50 points against the New York Knicks at the Madison Square Garden, adding 6 rebounds and 3 assists. And during the season, also, he will score 3,000 points in one season, with around 37 points per game and score 40 points 9 games in a row, breaking records again and again, only in his third season. In 1987, he became the NBA All-Star and won the Slam Dunk contest in Seattle. Michael Jordan was starting to be the player he always wanted to be. With the Air Jordan 2, he was already tracing the legacy of the GOAT. But even though he achieved all of that with it, he didn't like the design. For Michael, the shoe was too heavy and ugly. The thickness of the Italian leather upper wasn't practical, and because of the thicker midsole, Michael was feeling less the court than with the Air Jordan 1. So right when it came out, the tensions between Nike and Michael Jordan started. And we can understand him, because he left the court injured with the Air Jordan 1, and when he comes back, he finds himself in a heavier shoe that does not correspond to his game at all. Because of the Air Jordan 2, Michael Jordan almost left Nike. Finally, Michael Jordan wasn't the only one to dislike the model, because the hype wasn't the same as the Air Jordan 1 at all. The legend says Nike sold as many Air Jordan 2s as Air Jordan 1s. But this is not a good result when you see what Michael Jordan has done this year. Also, he wasn't a rookie anymore. It was already his third year. So usually, the sales are supposed to rise, not stay the same. And contrary to the Air Jordan 1, which stayed a long time in shops and was still selling well after months, the sales of the Air Jordan 2 stopped quickly due to less demand, making the expensive Air Jordan 2 a failure for Nike. Consequently, Peter Moore and Bruce Kilgore left the Air Jordan boat and will never design an Air Jordan anymore. After that, the Air Jordan 2 disappeared, only to reappear in a few collaborations for 30 years. But in 2022, Nike decided to change history for this pair, and they wanted to transform the past failure into a modern success. In 2017, Nike released a pack with Converse, named the two that started it all, with a Converse Fast Break and the Air Jordan 2 in its UNC colorway. The Converse Fast Break was Michael Jordan's shoe at the North Carolina University. But what about the Jordan 2 in its UNC colorway? Well, contrary to what many people thought, Michael Jordan didn't wear the Air Jordan 2 for the first time in the NBA, but during an alumni game at his university. And the colorway he had at that time was the famous UNC colorway that is in that box. But even if this pack was a nice gift to the fans, this is not what revived the Jordan 2. In 2021, a leak online said that the late Virgil Abloh and his Off-White team were working on the Air Jordan 2. And the result, released in November 2021, is mesmerizing. Both colorways were made from a 3D scan of an old pair of Michael Jordan. He used to wear that white red low colorway and got them signed. While seeing that, Virgil Abloh knew this would be amazing for the fans. It would feel like a piece of history, even though it wasn't unique. And for the first time, the Air Jordan 2 became hype, with the white-red Off-White lows reselling for more than $1,000. However, this is not the only reason why the reselling price of that Jordan 2 raised so much. It's also because it was the last Off-White sneaker released before he passed away. Seeing that success, Nike thought it was time to revive that model once and for all. That's why they decided to call Chris Gibbs from Union LA to design a new Jordan 2. Released in 2 colorways, Grey Fog and Rattan, this is for me one of the most beautiful Air Jordans ever, with the suede upper and the nylon. Union perfectly revisited this pair and almost made it hype, even though times for the resale game started to be tough. Right after, they also asked A Ma Manière, who has done fantastic Jordan 3s and 4s, to work on the Jordan 2. The pair wasn't a big success, but stayed true to the brand's image. Maison Chateau Rouge also worked on the Jordan 2, releasing what I think is the second most beautiful collab on the model after the Grey Union. Finally, Nike also tried to relaunch the pair with a J Balvin collab and the release of the OG Chicago colorway at the end of 2022. But unfortunately, nothing worked. We have the feeling that even if they called Travis Scott to work on it, it wouldn't have worked in the end. So unfortunately for this pair, the conclusion is that it is destined to fail. And that until the end of the times. And this is sad, because the Jordan 2 was my first Jordan ever. When I was a kid, my father was traveling a lot in the US, like me today, and he brought me back this this amazing OG Air Jordan 2 Chicago that my classmates were making fun of because the shape wasn't usual to them. And I loved these shoes because even though my classmates were making fun of them, they brought a lot of attention until one of them even said they wanted to buy one. But unfortunately for him, you couldn't find any Jordan 2s in France. So in the end, the Air Jordan 2 made me unique, like the pair, which was almost abandoned when all the other Air Jordan models appeared. Yes, the Jordan 2 might be for most people the worst Air Jordan, or the failed Air Jordan. But without that pair, the Jordan brand wouldn't be what it is today. And maybe Michael Jordan wouldn't have won the dunk contest, and we wouldn't have that beautiful Jordan 2 Off-White. So yes, the Air Jordan 2 is not the greatest Air Jordan for sure, but it shaped the transition to the real Jordan brand, with another designer that will change for sure the sneakers history. And this is the end of this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, don't hesitate to like and put a comment down below to tell me what you think about the Jordan 2. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if it's not already done. We talk about sneakers history with a French accent here. We also tell you the drops every month. We would like to thank Kiki Kicks, who lent me a few Jordan 2s in this video. They are behind me. Don't hesitate to check their Instagram down below. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on Sneak on Air.